Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Tim Burchett just completely dismantles both this Democrat on CNN and of course Kaitlan Collins, who forgets her own talking points. Let's dive in.
It's a lie. Donald Trump is lying about the impact of the legislation to the American people. It's one thing to defund health care and food. It's something else to lie to the American people.
You talked about your reservations, and one thing we've heard from Republicans is you want to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, right?
Correct.
Are you comfortable then with the provision that the Senate put into this to get Lisa Murkowski to vote for it, where basically states that have the highest level of erroneous payouts of SNAP get a delay here? Essentially, those states that are the worst at paying out SNAP benefits or do it the least effectively get a delay here, and essentially of how long they could see cuts to those provisions. In terms of that, we've heard from some Republicans who say it's kind of this perverse incentive that the worse you are at this, the more you benefit from this provision in the Senate bill.
I think it allows states to get in line, but also I think it's very disingenuous when you say that it's going to add $3 trillion to the debt in 10 years when the last 4 years.
I didn't say that. The Congressional Budget Office.
The Congressional Budget Office is not nonpartisan. 85% of the people that work in their health care division are Democrats and have contributed to Democrats. Their number one economist
it's run by a Republican.
Is a Democrat.
It's run by a Republican.
It needs to be disbanded. It is a relic. But the truth is, under the last 4 years, every 100 days we've run up $1 trillion. And all of a sudden you hear the Democrats and Chuck Schumer saying over the next 10 years it's going to round up $3 trillion. Well, where were they the last 4 years when we ran up over $12 trillion in debt? That just doesn't figure. And they're allowed to do that because their mouthpieces in the media continue to tout these lies that they say. And they just don't fit into in the real math. And the CBO has never been by a nonpartisan organization.
Okay.
Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that.
Well, the guy who runs it donated to a Republican and is a Republican. But can I ask you on terms of what you're saying about, you're saying what the media is saying about this. This is Ron Johnson who had these concerns, Josh Hawley who had these concerns. Tom Tillis is saying people in his state who are deserving of Medicaid would be kicked off.
Outside of Tillis, they all voted for it.
Well, they still criticized it, though, and said they had serious reservations about it.
Well, sure, they're going to have criticism of it. Anything that's this large. That's why I think we need to go back to what we do in Tennessee: single-issue spending bills, and let every bill be accountable to the voters. But we don't do that because neither party has the guts to do it, and they know it's a wink and a nod to stack these things up with a lot of pork. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury with this because of our economic situation that we're in, and I think that the American economy has suffered the last 4 years, and under this bill, I think it will correct a lot of those problems.
So it sounds like you're going to vote yes on this.
I'm leaning in that direction, but I still have my concerns. I met with Treasury today over a lot of the issues that I had.
Is there a cynical view that Democrats have behind closed doors that it'll be helpful to you in the midterms if this passes?
No, because we care about the country. My district has a Medicaid enrollment of 67%, like more than 70% of the children in my district, more than 80% of the nursing home residents in my district, more than 90% of the baby deliveries in my district are covered by Medicaid. Like, these programs are too big to fail or too critical to too many Americans. And so this legislation must be defeated at all costs.
And they won't fail because unless they're by waste, abuse, or fraud. If they're fraudulently on.
So you are 100% confident that if this bill passes, maybe by Friday, that no one who is qualified for Medicaid will lose funding to it, like the concerns that some of your fellow Republicans have?
No, I'm not concerned. I believe I trust in what's in the legislation, what it says, and I've looked through the facts, I've looked through the numbers, and again, I think the CBO is completely wrong, and they're not taking into effect the fraudulent behavior. What does the Democrat Party have against somebody who is able-bodied and getting out and getting a dadgum job? Where are they?
You're not worried about rural hospitals losing money, like we've heard from some of your other fellow Republicans?
There's $50 billion in a fund to take care of that.
But they did that because they were worried what you guys passed in the House. But you just
said was I worried about it, and they took care of it in the bill.
But that was not in what you voted yes on and what was sent to the Senate.
But the Senate took care of that. They corrected that problem.
But you said yes on it. You see my point, right?
Well, just like he raised his taxes in his district $1,700 on couples making $70,000 or less. So, it's apples and oranges, Kaitlan.
Congressman Tim Burchett.
There is a ton to unpack here, but first we got to start by just saying that Kaitlan Collins still doesn't know how to needle Republicans anymore, mainly because we figured out their entire game, we figured out their entire system, and we don't play by those rules anymore, okay? That time is over. First off, I actually don't despise Lisa Murkowski. I have a modicum of respect for her. Before you boo me, yes, hear me out. Lisa Murkowski is a senator from one of the oddest states in the union. Alaska is its own separate entity. I've met Alaskans. They do not like the fact that they're part of the United States. It is a very tough state to govern for a whole multitude of reasons. So she's trying her best to get as much provisions for her state as she can. That's why she is as belligerent as she is. I wish she voted more with the Republican Party, but she has a different job in mind. So I wouldn't mind someone primarying her and winning, but the reality is she is trying to deliver for her state, and I can at least respect that. And now she is actually, she seems like she's more on board with a few certain things. But I would not mind if someone primaried her and won. Hey, y'all, here's the deal. Gold loves President Trump. Under Trump's first term, the price of gold soared 53%. And the price of silver jumped 51%. Since the start of the second term, gold has skyrocketed even higher, breaking records and even outperforming stocks. Here's what I like about precious metals like gold and silver. They have been used as a store of value for centuries. Governments can't easily manipulate it. They are used as hedges against market risk and, of course, against inflation. That's why I partnered with the amazing people over at Goldco. Goldco is an award-winning precious metals company. They are fans of this show, and they have helped millions of Americans just like y'all to purchase over $3 billion in gold and silver. Right now, you can get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. On top of that, you might also qualify for their amazing unlimited silver bonus offer. So don't wait on this. Go to politibrawlgold.com to learn more. That's politibrawlgold.com or call 855-644-GOLD. But another big part that we really have to deal with is the idea of rural hospitals losing their funding. There are two very dirty secrets in the healthcare industry, and that's one, that rural hospitals lose a ton of money. But they provide, one, an essential service, and two, if they weren't there, there'd be some sort of riots, or there'd be some sort of competition. And if that competition comes in there and ends up being better at providing healthcare for that area, oh boy, you found a new healthcare model, and the healthcare industry won't stand for that. So they're going to swallow these losses, okay? And this is, and I'll get to secret number 2 in just a moment. But according to the Big Beautiful Bill, the cuts in overall Medicaid funding for rural hospitals would exceed 20% in more than half of states, according to a report from the National Rural Health Association. What that really means is that these hospitals that already operate at a pretty consistent loss would face even more cuts. Again, as I said, if someone else takes over that responsibility and finds another model, the healthcare industry is kaput. That new model will win out, and they dread that more than anything else. But there's a dirty little secret that I actually have in my back pocket about the healthcare industry. I happen to be working for a major healthcare organization in 2019 and 2020. The warehouse that we had was overflowing, had a massive extra stockpile. We did not know what to do with all the extra stuff, okay? The warehouse that we had essentially 4 parts. It had the front office. It had an odd middle section that was used for more niche roles. That's one of the roles I was providing, because I had the niche role of being able to drive a car. I drove the medical supplies directly to sterile processing departments, and I loved that job. But I couldn't help but notice that our outgoing warehouse side was overflowing with stuff. We did not know where to put all the extra things that we had. We had to put it in extra areas that we had specially designed for other ideas in our department. It ended up working out in the end, but the reason our warehouse was overflowing was because the hospital lobby told their hospitals, don't buy these healthcare supplies that y'all desperately need. Just wait it out and hope that either the federal government or the state government will give them more money. Ladies and gentlemen, during the lockdowns, the healthcare industries, the hospitals said we're not going to buy the very things that we need to provide services for. During the lockdowns. In other words, a whole lot of these organizations are just disturbingly greedy. All right, the healthcare industry, as much as we need to love our doctors, we need to love our healthcare providers to some degree, we need to look at them with a very critical eye. And that's a big reason why these cuts are coming. We need to shave down our federal government spending, and I actually have faith that there are people out there, there are entrepreneurs out there that have new ideas that can come in and provide. I actually believe that charity foundations will be able to be the stopgap here. We have a rich history here in the United States of charitable giving. And it's not just because of our Christian upbringing. It's not just because evangelicals are, and mainline Protestants and Catholics alike, all have a huge history of not only giving to the church, but giving outside of that purview. We are a very giving society as individuals, and that's something that you rarely see anymore. I think that's a kind of culture that needs to make a comeback. I think that the Shriners Hospital model, where and you've seen the commercials probably, particularly on the old rerun stations, where these hospitals have all these resources dedicated to young children. I truly believe that there are better ways to get money to these organizations, to get money to these hospitals without the ridiculous amount of money that gets wasted and lost through the current federal system. We have got to deal with our debt. We have got to slim down and trim down certain problems. And yeah, it's going to put things through a ringer for a little while. But I have faith that people will bounce back. I have faith in the American people. I have faith in our human ingenuity and our human charity. But let me know if you have the same faith down below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.